Welcome, everyone, to the L7C podcast, NBA edition. We are back talking some NBA hoops. We got the Christmas slate going on. We're going to tell you what's been going on in the league, standings as of right now, and some of our favorite interesting things going on right now. So we have the NBA aficionado, Mr. Evan Debo, with us. How are you doing today, sir?
Good, Martin. How are you? Merry Christmas to all. Merry Christmas to you, sir.
Merry Christmas to all, and Merry Christmas to you as well. I am good, man. We're in that Christmas time when basketball, for more of the casual viewers, picks up for them as football is dwindling down.
Yeah, it's that time of year. When people have been looking at the schedules in recent years and been looking at whether or not to, put in this in-season tournament stuff. Where would you do it? How would you adjust the calendar with games and stuff? And there's been a lot of opining in recent years. Just start on Christmas Day. It's already, again, next to MLK Day. Those are the two big NBA blockbuster all-day events. So it'll be a great slate again. A lot of seasons under us already, a little bit more than a quarter, and a lot of storylines heading into next Sunday.
So before we get to the Christmas games, since we were just talking about this before recording, we might as well just start with them. The hometown Cleveland Cavaliers, 20-11, currently third in the East. You actually had a great opportunity to go see them live past couple of days ago, this weekend. How was that for you?
Oh, that was a blast. Was about two rows off the floor behind Kate Bach, Mrs. Kevin Love, a number of folks in-house. I missed J.R. Smith, who came to the game yesterday. But Cavs and Pacers Friday night. Then Cavs played again last night. That would have been Saturday the 17th, if listeners listen to this. But the game on Friday night, kind of similar to how things were yesterday, too. And so Cavs are in a stretch of some home games that, finally, where they have the best home record in the league at 14-2.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was kind of a slugfest. They kind of were just going through the motions for three quarters. And then it just absolutely flipped. They just flipped the script in the fourth quarter. Donnie Ball game had a 40-41 piece, including 18 in the fourth. Definitely looked like watching it on TV last night. That he definitely had some tired legs and stuff with them. It was kind of interesting watching some of the in-game stuff with some of JB's rotations. It was interesting that Jetty Osman has been kind of relegated in recent games to the bench. He played a little bit more of an active role last night, but Tyrese Halliburton for the Pacers, real deal, man. He's great. We struggled with. We were giving up a lot of stuff in the paint to the Pacers, to Isaiah Jackson, to Miles Turner, you name it in the paint. Buddy Hield hit a couple quick early threes. But no, another interesting story. So the Cavs ended up pulling that one out. It wasn't the greatest of efforts through three quarters, but they poured on the famous Cavalanche, as we call it, in the fourth, and went on to win that game, and then had to pull it out in overtime against a Dallas team without all their heavy hitters. No Luka last night. Everything else, Christian Wood was phenomenal. So they're 2-0 on the weekend, but prior to Friday's game, I got there a little bit early. Was watching shoot around, Martin, and was excited to see Ricky Rubio back taking practice shots and getting some work in pregame before he dressed into street clothes to sit the bench. So I think heading into Christmas week, he's going to be in 5-on-5 practices again. But another interesting wrinkle to the fourth best team here overall in the NBA record-wise, just sitting about a half game back of the Grizzlies, who have one less win and one less loss. We played two more games than them, but and then third in the Eastern Conference, the Cleveland Cavaliers. So they've been impressive. There's been a couple games where they've definitely had some injuries, but again they've worked through it. Still got to figure out some stuff on the road where I think they're only 6-7. So they've got lots of work to do there. But hey, they are an issue for teams coming into Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse in Cleveland. Again, league best 14-2 at home.
At this current part of the season, have the Cavs met your expectations?
Yeah, I mean, I think they have. I think they've maybe exceeded them a little bit. There's been some games not go our way. Again, we had a lot of injuries. Who could have predicted Darius Garland getting poked in the eye after they're in the second quarter of game one and missing a bunch of stretch? Again, while we won those games because Donovan Mitchell's just been on a tear. I mean, I think that's the piece for me where they've really exceeded is individually. A lot of questions coming in. Can Donovan Mitchell play defense? He wasn't great with Utah coming in. Is he? Can he take that next step? Is he to show he's worthy of all the firsts and pick swaps and players the Cavs traded for him? And he's been the real deal, man. I mean, he's got to be top 5 MVP consideration. Absolutely has to be for where this Cavs team's at. In recent weeks, there's been kind of some funky stuff. I need them to figure out offensively. The record doesn't necessarily show it. They've had some tight wins here. They're 5-0 in overtime this year too. So they've had 5 games go into extras. Where things could have gone a different way, and maybe that 20-11 records look a little different. But Darius has been kind of in a weird spot, I think, offensively for me. I mean, he's still facilitating, doing great things on the offensive side of the ball, but definitely he seems to be forcing things a lot more than he normally does, and really hesitant to take the three. I mean, a lot of dribbling into the paint, penetration stuff, and then just kind of going for floaters that aren't necessarily working. I mean, he was efficient last night, had 20 and 10, but again, just some of the things are rotation based with JB in terms of his turn, my turn. Again, you never want to have a time on the court where Mitchell and Garland are not playing, but they'll figure that out. It's a long way to go still. Wish they were playing on Christmas Day as a extra Christmas Day gift, but things are going the right direction. Dean Wade's been out. We severely missed him on the defensive side of the ball in the three-point shooting side of things. But other guys like Lamar Stevens have stepped up. I mean, he was a menace for Luka Doncic 4 nights ago in Dallas when the Cavs beat the Mavericks in American Airlines Arena. And with him out last night, Isaac Okoro was great as well too. I mean, he's almost got to relegate himself to not being a three-point shooter anymore. It's just so bad watching him trying to hit those corner threes and he just keeps clunking him. But when that guy attacks the basket, he can be a problem and show that he's an NBA player. So, I wish he could stretch it out to that, but we've seen enough, I think, sample size to know that, like, listen, man, like, keep chipping away, maybe take a gate, maybe take one of those wide open threes once or twice a game. But other than that, I mean, you should not be putting up more than 4 or anywhere near 4 3-point shots. It just equates to transition for the other team and stuff. But other guys have stepped up. Evan Mobley, the points haven't quite risen in that sophomore season just yet, but I mean, he's still every bit of a monster defensively, just wreaking havoc this season. And I mean, they've been impressive. I think they're slightly above the pace that I had projected them to be, I think, coming in, but it was great to see them in person Friday night.
Yeah, and currently just rankings wise, they're third in the Eastern Conference. Boston's number 1 right now, 22-8. Milwaukee is number 2, 21-8. And then the Cavs, 20-11. Brooklyn, 18-12 at 4. Philly, 5, 16-12. New York, 16-13 at 6. Then you get in the play-in area. Miami, 15-16. Indiana, 15-15. Atlanta, 15-15. And Toronto, 13-16. And then if you go out west, your Memphis Grizzlies, number 1 right now, 19-10. The Pelicans, 18-11, number 2. Denver, 17-11. Phoenix, 18-12. Sacramento Kings, 5th seed currently, 16-12. Portland, 17-13. Then you get in the play-in category. Clippers, 18-14. Jazz, 17-15. Dallas, 15-15. Minnesota, 14-15. Evan, from the East or West, what at this point in the season, still early, but what teams have surprised you that if the playoffs started today, they would be in?
The Pacers have absolutely been the story of the East. Again, with you talk about just how good of a trade that was with Sacramento and Indianapolis. I mean, at first everybody was like, for Sacramento's side, how do you give up Tyrese Halliburton? And somehow it's working out this year under Mike Brown and Sacramento like the beam. But with the Pacers, I mean, they play with pace. Again, they were tough out Friday night. I mean, they were dominating us for 3/4 of ball, in Cleveland until, later down the stretch, Mitchell just took over and showed why he was the best player on the court. It helps to have a guy like that in your hip pocket, but they've been certainly impressive. The Cavs have struggled. They have 2 of their 11 losses this year to the Raptors. That's a little bit surprising to me that they're on the outside looking in right now. The Hornets are the worst team in basketball. I mean, I didn't think they had a lot of hope for the playoffs. Maybe they were competitive in the play-in piece, but I didn't see them being that bad. Obviously, LaMelo missed a decent amount of time, but I mean, they are just bad. The one that I think is surprising for me right now is I didn't have them as high as everybody else did coming in, but the rebound of the Nets after the crazy offseason they had and the anti-Semitic remarks by Kyrie Irving to Kevin Durant wanting to fire the coach and the GM to asking for a trade, then changing his mind, to the walking enigma that is Ben Simmons, that they started off 2-5, and since they're 16-7, and they are right on the Cavs' heels at the 4 seed right now. I mean, they have really, really, really turned things around. That's been really surprising to me. The Heat have steadily started to climb back in. I think the other big surprise, I mean, the Sixers are going to end up doing well. I mean, they've just had a lot of injuries with Maxey and Harden, but the New York Knicks, back to maybe where they were 2 years ago, have been really impressive as well too. They've handed the Cavs one of their 2 home court losses, and they're at 16-13, and they'll be playing Christmas Day. How about you, Martin? What stands out to you of the East teams, either in the playoff picture, the play-in picture? And again, these are all just a snapshot. There's a lot of season to play ahead. We're not making any hastily additional predictions here, or the bottom feeders of the East.
Yeah, with the East, in theory, there's nothing really. I think the only thing out of all the things that you've already said, and I have nothing to add to them, except for just Boston being up top. I mean, usually you have that finals loss, potential hangover and all that. And them, obviously, we talked about them during the summer with the Udoka situation. They haven't missed a beat. And they just got Robert back, I think 2 nights ago. So for them to deal with all that stuff and still be the number 1 team record-wise in the NBA, I mean, I can't say anything bad about them, but everything else I agree with. I just wanted to highlight Boston.
No, yeah. I was so close to it. Was so weird. I mean, they've been the most dominant team across the board in basketball, with the exception of 25% of their losses are to the Cavs. But that was early on. Again, the Robert Williams stuff. Malcolm Brogdon's been huge for them as that additional ball handler they needed. Again, Derek White had to do too much of the ball handling duties. Jason Statham continues to be impressive. You name it. I was so close. I mean, to just saying, man, they're running away with this thing. But the first iteration of the rematch with the Warriors, I mean, they went in and they got beat handily. And that's not like the Celtics. I mean, the Suns were kind of the leaders in the West, and they had just kind of ran the Suns out the building early on after the first 10, 11 games of the Suns off to a hot start. But then, again, when they did that West Coast trip, and again, that's a grueling trip to go out of time zone and all the jet lag and miles, and you're in a different city every 2 nights and everything else. But again, there's that piece to them. They'll have a lot to say Christmas Day at home. But yeah, I mean, that's the only blemish, I think, on what's been an unbelievably impressive start for Boston.
Yeah, that Warriors game, too. That was the first NBA Saturday night primetime game of the year.
And I apologize. I kind of inferred that the Celtics are playing the Bucks on Christmas.
Yes. I was just bringing up how
I got confused for a second, but no, I mean, on that first iteration. So the next time they play home in Boston, we'll see if they can take care of home court, or maybe there's a little bit more to this with a really kind of struggling Golden State team here. So, Martin, before we swing to Christmas, do you want to do the same discussion, swing west, run through the standings here, and then what lead off with what stands out to you?
Yeah. So currently, again, just Memphis 1, New Orleans 2, Denver 3, Phoenix 4, Sacramento 5, Portland 6. Then play in Clippers 7, Jazz 8, Dallas 9, Timberwolves 10. And I think one of the main things that stand out to me is New Orleans. I know we previewed them and we said they can make minimally the West semis, potentially the West finals, but watching them play, like they're not going to be an easy out for anyone out west, and they really could make the Western Conference Finals, especially with currently perennial powers like Golden State and the Lakers not even in the playoffs if it started right now. Like, who's to say if these 8 teams start the playoffs right now that New Orleans doesn't represent the West?
Yeah, I mean, and they still the craziest thing is almost. I heard somebody on the national circuit bring this up this week, Martin. When the free agent of all free agents who's not supposed to be a free agent, at least temporarily, was allegedly demanding a trade, wanting out. We don't know how serious Brooklyn was listening to offers, but the Pelicans have an arsenal of resources to go all in around the Brandon Ingram package. And, I mean, they could – can you imagine if you put KD on this team right now? And not to take anything away from Brandon Ingram. I mean, you're giving up a lot with him, and they've got all those Laker picks that are going to pan out. I mean, the Laker pick, they could end up with Wembanyama next year at this pace, you know? It's insane the amount of resources and tools that they have to make another jump for when that next superstar is available. You know, again, it doesn't feel like there's anything tipping on the trade fronts right now. Like there's not. It's kind of weird that we're heading to Christmas time. We don't have a disgruntled superstar somewhere. I think December 15th was the trigger date for a lot of contracts that were just signed in the off season when people can become available to be traded. So there's things are working out for players, new players in new places, but they've got a lot of resources, but they've been so impressive. I love the chippiness with the Suns, right? And back and forth. Suns actually got the better of them last night behind a 58 bucket behind Devin Booker. But, you know, you've got Zion windmilling at the end of games. You've got, you know, some of the pettiness back and forth and people trying to start fights and, you know, the press conference stuff with Zion and, hey, they sent my team home last year. I want to let them know, you know who we are and I'm back this year. But they've been so impressive and they're so deep. There's so many different ways they can hit you. Other surprises for me, I thought Kawhi was ready to go, Martin. With the Clippers, I thought he was ready to go. I don't know if we're going to see anything close to a vintage Kawhi rebound like we have before, like which just shows you how impressive, you know, the Achilles injury and, you know, the ACL stuff that Kevin Durant faced to come back to play at the level he's playing. And yet we still have Kawhi pick and choosing his spots. And like how many years, this is a year 4, I think, with Paul George and Kawhi. Paul George is playing phenomenal. He'd be at least a third-team All-NBA in my books. But, again, just picking and choosing their spots. I mean, they're 18-14. He had that game winner a few weeks back. Like, still a long way to go. But I haven't seen enough out of them to say I'm scared of the Clippers like I thought I would have this season. And let me just say, I put them into play, and the Mike Brown-led, like the Bean Sacramento Kings, behind a resurgence of De'Aaron Fox. Domantas Sabonis has been huge. Martin, they've been impressive. That's equally one of the next surprises. Obviously, the Jazz are in there too with all their new players and the hodgepodge of picks and everything else, who've really hurt themselves in the tank for Wemby sweepstakes by starting off with lighting the world on fire. They've started to regress a little bit back there, but I mean, there's been a lot of in the different group chats you and I have with different pockets of groups within the podcast network and with fantasy football and everything else. There's a common thing we talk about when these NBA discussions pops up, especially this year, is the amount of parity in this league.
Yes.
I mean, again, any given night, I mean, again, like the Cavs on paper are a better team than the Pacers, but I mean, they had to scrap for that win Friday night like you wouldn't expect. I mean, any given night, somebody can go out there and just trash on somebody. I mean, look at the Grizz the other night and what they were able to do. Absolutely insane. You know how many points they laid the wood to. So again, I mean, they're a good team. We expect them to be up there, but not be beating teams as bad as they have been recently too. Nuggets are on the climb as well. I mean, they've just been incredibly impressive across the board. But again, there's just so much parity. I mean, again, like if you're not on your A game against the Pistons all night, you get in a shootout. I mean, and as bad as the Rockets and the Cavs know this well with the Spurs. Spurs played us with no fear, no regrets, chucking threes, and we couldn't hit anything. And on our quick little 2-game Western trip, we beat the Mavs but lost to the Spurs. That's a sentence I just said. With the Cleveland Cavaliers, as good as they have. I mean, again, there's just so much parity.
There was a team also that didn't bring up because I think we're both shocked if the playoffs started today, they'd be in. I mean, Dame Dollar, man, Portland, like they'd be the 6th seed right now, and no one expected them to be where they're at right now at this point in the season.
Yeah, they just got Dame back, and obviously we all know what comes with him. Anthony Simons has been amazing for them. I mean, again, that's been a long investment. I believe he was a really young draft pick a few years ago. I think he was out of the IMG Academy in Florida, or did one of those kind of tweener years. Didn't necessarily go to college, and could be wrong.
Yeah, he's only 23 years old right now. This is his 3rd season.
Yeah, I mean, again, he's been phenomenal. Again, what you're getting out of Nurkic right now has been amazing too. Just across the board. I mean, they've been incredibly impressive. Josh Hart, you name it.
There's a lot in this league right now, and we'll see where these teams are at, like around All-Star break. But one of the NBA's biggest showcases, if not the biggest, is Christmas Day, which at time of recording, it is next Sunday. We have 5 games on the slate. We got the Bucks versus Celtics, Sixers versus the Knicks, Suns versus the Nuggets, Lakers versus the Mavs, Grizzlies versus the Warriors. And let's see. The first game of that day is the 76ers versus the New York Knicks. I do feel like, Evan, that the Knicks always get the 12 o'clock game on Christmas.
So the Knicks, I feel, they always get the 12 o'clock start. So the Sixers have definitely rebounded with Harden, coming back into the fold too. They're still waiting on, fully healthy Maxey, but, Embiid's been on a tear as usual. So, again, the Knicks are always, Knicks are always fun to watch in the Garden, the sound of the organ, all the celebs out on Christmas Day, you name it. If we're taking predictions here and shots, I think we're going to take the Sixers though. With Harden coming back and rebounding a little bit, on Christmas Day.
Yeah, currently Vegas has the Sixers as a 4-point favorite. So I would take them as well. You get to that next game, 2:30 ABC. The Lakers versus the Mavericks, Luka, LeBron. And there was just news that just came out today that you shared with.
That's why we wait to do this pod.
With Anthony Davis he's going to be out at least a month. And Evan, that's big because these past couple of weeks, Anthony Davis was really reminding people what he's like truly capable of if he's playing 9 in, 9 out consistently, because he was the best. You could have said in that stretch, he was the best player in the league, and he was single-handedly bringing the Lakers back to like record relevancy. And now he's going to be out for a month, so that hurts for them.
Yeah, same old same, right? And, a little bit. I mean, it started with he was a late scratch in the adjustment. I think Friday night, I believe, or last night. I can't remember. But I was excited to see when the Lakers came to town, the Cavs beat the Lakers, that I was waiting for Anthony Davis and the matchup with our two bigs, and could Mobley become at the top end eventually what Anthony Davis is, those kinds of things. I think there's a lot to be said on that conversation when Anthony's healthy, but he had like flu-like symptoms and ended up leaving the game real early, so we didn't get to see that. And then since there hasn't been a whole lot from Anthony Davis here, and then now we've got this month-long injury. So, with that being said too, Luka's injured. I assume just kind of preventative stuff, nothing crazy to keep him out an entire week. for next Sunday. But I do expect the Lakers, I think, to be competitive in this game. It's also they're without Davis for a little bit. I mean, again, standings wise, they're 12th. They're 12-16. They started worse, win percentage wise after that. But I think this team's finally figured out how to play rough a little bit and manage his minutes and let them come in and just sprint with the second unit. And I think they've managed that well. Lonnie Walker's been huge. Last time I checked, he was at 16, 17 points a game. That was a lower end signing they had in the off season. And again, this is a team that's been sitting on those first round pick assets, waiting to see, what are we going to do? What are we going to put together for LeBron? LeBron voluntarily gave up his leverage, re-upping for them with the expectation of they're going to do something. But again, they've got to figure out on Christmas Day how to stop Luka first and foremost. And Martin, I don't know, did you catch the Cavs game last night? Because the Lakers have another issue potentially to be dealing with. Kemba Walker dropped over 30 in his first start.
I saw that. 2 years. Yeah, I did. I saw
that. He was a problem getting into the paint, shooting threes from distance. I mean, he was a problem, and that was without Luka. So obviously, Luka's really ball dominant. I think Kemba's really ball dominant. Who knows what's going to be fixed between now and then. I think this game's a toss-up. I think it's close all the way through. I am going to take the Mavs at home, though, but I don't feel great about it. I think the Lakers will still contend. I think LeBron will find a way to show out on Christmas Day. I think it'll be closer than what the box score, I guess, might say at the end of the day. If there's some garbage time, free throws, all those types of things. Don't think of Mavs.
Yeah, right now it's a pick 'em in Vegas with the Lakers and Mavericks as of right now, and Mavericks are at home. I do think I'm going to take the Lakers on this just because of what you said. LeBron, again, we don't know how many more of these we're going to have with LeBron on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
And with AD, literally the news coming out today that he's going to be out a month. LeBron he's going to, I feel like this game is going to be a 40 piece.
Well, I will say where the Cavs had success against the Mavs last night too, where I think really bodes well for, again, I think it could go either way. I think Dallas really, really struggles with paint defense. So they're coming to this game. They don't have Max Cleaver for a while. They played a lot of JaVale McGee last night in spot minutes just because they were down so many bodies. For as good as Christian Wood is, that guy does not want smoke or contact or anything. He wants to be out moving around, wants to be kind of a roaming back into the defensive line big. For the weak side rotation, and he wants to, as a secondary defender, and he offensively wants to hang out behind the arc. I mean, he's lethal back there, but the Cavs beat them up in the paint. At one point, they were up, I think, 40-20 in paint points in the third quarter last night, and that sounds like LeBron James and Russell Westbrook special. So, I mean, I think it could easily go your way too if you take the Lakers.
Next game is the rematch of the Bucks and the Celtics from the playoffs a year ago. This is in Boston. These are the two top teams in the East right now. Evan, who do you got in this?
Slide edge to Boston right now. Slight. I think this is going to be a slobber knocker. I really do. I'm really excited on Monday. The Bucks are going to get the debut of their big off season. Let's pick them up and wait and see because come back from injury. But on Monday we get our first instance of Joe Ingles as another 3-point sniper to come out to help the Bucks. For the Celtics, obviously we just talked about Time Lord coming back. I think that obviously helps too at home with Boston. But for Milwaukee's not going to be a pushover. I think it's going to be a equally as close game down the stretch, with slight home edge to Boston here. Chris Middleton's been a little bit slow out the gate since coming back. I mean, he's not been the Chris Middleton, the ISO mid-range guy, that we know to expect and go get you a bucket whenever you need it. That was so vital, for Milwaukee in that championship here, but. Slight edge to Boston. I don't feel good about it either, but again, it's going to be a phenomenal matchup right about dinner time on Christmas Day.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I'm going Boston. Boston is a 3.5 point favorite. And I just feel like, especially with Christmas, I know Giannis is Giannis, but Tatum and Brown, I think it's going to be too much for Milwaukee, and they're going to take it that game. You go to your second favorite team, the Memphis Grizzlies against Golden State. This is a rematch everyone was looking for. This was manifested in the offseason with Ja saying he wanted the Warriors on Christmas. He got them. Unfortunately, Steph Curry will not be playing. He's going to be out for some time, but they still have Poole, Clay, Wiggins, Draymond. Right now, Grizzlies are a favorite in Vegas, 4.5 points. Evan, who you got in this one? And this is at the Warriors' place.
If Curry were playing, I'd take Golden State. If he's not, I'm taking Memphis. And I think too I hope these two teams play each other in the playoffs again this year. But again, I think that these teams are at the spot where we take it for granted that this was so much parity in the league. People can pick up a win on the other team's floor. That playing in Oakland is insane. It's so tough. Teams go in there and die. I think that this is the next stretch, from Christmas on for the Grays has got to be about having the better record over the Warriors to have that game 5 and 7 in the grindhouse in Memphis, should they end up coming to them and, trying to get the best record they can in the regular season to do it healthy. But I'm taking the Grizz in this with Curry out. And it might be dare I say, a big one.
You're not far off from that. I think the Grizzlies are going to beat the Warriors by 20, 4.5 points.
Oh, it's going to be take the over. If you're betting, listen to this podcast, J.A. Take the over.
The last one of the nightcap of the Christmas evening, you got the Suns versus the Nuggets. Obviously, the Nuggets have the two-time MVP, Nikola Jokic. Suns, we just talked about Devin Booker just coming off a 58-point ball. Evan, this is at Denver. Who you got in this one?
I like Denver in this one. Again, impressive performance by Booker the other night. Again, you look statistically, this is the worst offensive season Chris Paul has had in his career.
Mm-hmm.
I still think they're a competitive team. I still think they can catch you on a night. I think it might be a combination of moving trains here about Christmas time. And then you might see in the next month that the Suns start to go in one direction versus, they had such a hot start starting out, and Denver really starts to continue to glue and gel and extend themselves in the West a little bit higher in the standings than they currently are. And I think we've seen that climb out of Denver here recently. So I like the Nuggets here.
Suns are always hard to predict because I know they can be a good team.
Is somebody going to get Jay Crowder?
He's just waiting.
Oh, man.
I mean,
all right, Jay Crowder, there's got to be something you can work around with the guys who waited the longest. And he hasn't waited nearly as long as the other guy I'm about to say, but let's send Jay Crowder. I guess is where I'm going to send him.
You're going to send him to L.A.?
No, they won't. They won't give up first that. I'm going to send him to Atlanta for John Collins, and you can figure out who's got the worst or the better end of the deal, and he can pick some swaps there. But those two dudes are unhappy. I think John Collins brings a level of athleticism, offensively and defensively, to the Suns that they sorely need in terms of a secondary bucket getter. And then you get Jay Crowder into the fold with the Hawks. Do it. Call it up. Call Adam Silver right now. Let's do it on the spot.
Yeah, but
all right, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Suns are the 4th seed in the West, but you never know if they're going to be like the Phoenix Suns that made the finals a couple years ago, or they're going to be the team that just gets shellacked like they were last year when the Mavs bounced. I'm like, or just recently, like you never know with this
Almost
team.
bounced by New Orleans.
Yeah, almost bounced by New Orleans before they got shellacked by Dallas. So, but I'm gonna take Phoenix in this game. I think Devin Booker is gonna have, I don't know about 58 points, but maybe a 35-point game, and I think we're finally gonna have the best offensive game Chris Paul's had this year. Oh, I'll take him. I'll take him. Evan, there was something you said earlier about Donovan being an MVP candidate and all of that. And I would say, you want to talk about parity? Every other day, someone else is a MVP, would win the MVP if it voted that day. The NBA came out of nowhere and renamed all the trophies and added new trophies. The MVP award will now be called the Michael Jordan Award. The Defensive Player of the Year trophy has been named after Hakeem Olajuwon. Rookie of the Year trophy has been named after Wilt Chamberlain. Sixth Man of the Year trophy has been named after John Havlicek. Most Improved Player trophy has been named after George Mikan. They introduced a new award called the Clutch Player of the Year, which was named after Jerry West. Also, if we remember, in recent years, the All-Star Game MVP Award has been renamed the Kobe Bryant Award. The Eastern and Western Conference Finals MVP, they have MVP awards now named after Larry and Magic. And then they put a lot of detail, especially into the new MVP Michael Jordan trophy, because it made a detail about his career and all of that. Evan, are you liking these rebranding of these NBA awards being named after legends in the game?
This is bad.
Well, and we do know
some of the people. I think some of the people would tell you too. They're named after that. This is bad.
Well, and we do know when he retires. When he retires, the longevity award will be named after LeBron James.
Did I miss that? Did you read a longevity award?
No, I'm saying when it's created, it will be named after him in the future.
I mean, they didn't say they've created one, right? You're assuming?
Yeah, I'm assuming. I think they'll
Yeah. So, I don't know what that looks like, but I think it's a disservice to how many people have come in the game, because things change over time, man. And you've got to afford yourself the opportunity. The game and the prestige of the association, the trophies encompass all the names that came before, that are here now, that are coming down the line. What happens when? Yeah, I mean, again, I think it's a disservice to LeBron James. I didn't hear Kareem Abdul-Jabbar on that list, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's just so many different people that I think, too, there's names we don't even know about yet who are going to come in and dominate this league for long periods of time, offensively, defensively, clutch points, you name it. I don't know. I mean, I just don't like the branding. I'm not sure what the issue was and the trigger to want to try to do this. But I just think it's forced, and I think it pigeonholes the league from, future stars and current stars now that have a lot of blank pages left in their book for chapters to be written,
Yeah, when it first came out, it felt really odd. I do know with the Kobe Bryant one a couple of years ago at the All-Star MVP, because he has 4 of those, and that was after his tragic passing. But a lot of people...
Where's Tim Duncan?
That's true, Tim Duncan. And then a lot of people wanted Kobe to become the new logo of the NBA, which that hasn't changed yet, but probably eventually it will, maybe. I don't know. And then obviously last year with the Eastern and West things with Bird and Magic, I really just think the NBA is just trying a whole bunch of stuff just to see what sticks, but it's not like they can change these names now after doing it.
Yeah. Again, I mean, I think you look back to, so the NBA just did their 75 greatest players, right? And of those, I mean, you look back at the list of 50, and there's people on there that wouldn't even dare make the list from the original 50. I mean, just because it shows you how much the league has evolved. And the league is going to continue to evolve. Again, I don't get the PR stunt to try to ride on the coattails from the individual names. I'm curious to know how much these folks were consulted before their name was on there. Like, hey, MJ, we're going to name the MVP trophy after you, or hey, we're going to name the the clutch trophy after you. So
yeah, that clutch trophy is
I think it's
whole new trophy.
Like, that one, it should be named. I don't know, if we're going recency bias, let's just name it after ISO Joe. But that dude was clutch. But speaking of clutch points and MVP, I just want to say number 3 in the league in clutch scoring is one Donovan Mitchell. So
who would you take right now at Christmas time as MVP? Because, man, there's a lot. There's Jason, there's Giannis, Joker's still there, John Morant, Donovan, Joel Embiid. Like, there's a lot. Luke, there's a lot of people right now in this MVP race. And, like, who would you take at this point in time as the MVP?
So tough, man. I gotta give the edge to Giannis right now. So he's at about. Sorry, Apple Watches. Apparently doesn't like that pick. So he's at about 31-12-3. Tatum's at about 31-6-4. Celtics have the best record, but Milwaukee slightly. But Milwaukee's getting healthy here. They've got Middleton back. We're going to see what they have in Ingles. I think they've got to move in them to get some bench depth again somewhere along the way. I just think the extra six rebounds. He's just such a monster. There's nothing you can do when he puts his head down and attacks the bucket. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Tatum is so crafty as well too when he's attacking the lane and everything else. But offensively, defensively, the guy impacts the game in ways that I think he just this year again that I think he just does. He's got the edge over Tatum right now. I just think he's with a fully healthy team, and you get Middleton back, and back to somewhere near we know Middleton is. I think you're going to see this team end up with the number 1 seed in the long run. But I used to be neck and neck all year between these two teams. But I give a slight edge there. And yeah, do not forget about Jokic, who I think has really come on in recent weeks. And I've got Donovan Mitchell in my top 5. I'm keeping my bias out of it, but that guy has been a huge part of why the Cavs are the 3rd team in the East and the 4th best team in the league.
I think right now I'm going to give the slightest of edges to Jason Tatum at this current point in time. I mean, he's taken another leap, averaging 30, 38, and 4. I know Giannis has just as comparable stats to him, 30, 11, and 5, but I'm not going to say Giannis is at the point already where we have like the LeBron, Michael, like, oh, he could be MVP every year fatigue yet. But I do feel like Jason has taken it up another level. And I have Donovan in there as well. I just feel like when we get to near the end of the year, it's going to be based on like team performance. Like if the Cavs are the number 1 seed, I think Donovan Mitchell's going to win MVP.
Yeah,
like, I feel like that's going to be the deciding factors this year because it's so close.
I think all these, for voters, I think all these little things add up, right? When there's so much parity, those Sunday afternoon matinee matchups on ABC or the Saturday night ones that come in February, those things matter. The the Tuesday and Thursday night matchups on TNT, primetime, you name it, those things matter to voters. I think, too, what you said is the fatigue piece we always talk about, right? That one drives me up the wall. Again, the fact that LeBron James for 20 years has been the force he has and only has 4 MVPs to his name. You can't tell me that he was only the best player in the league 4 times in 20 years. You can't. I mean, again, there's voter fatigue is real. And I think, too, like when you're 50-50 on things, as a fan watching, like, I don't know which way voters are gonna swing. I think you got to look at the edge too. Well, who hasn't won it before? Because voters historically, especially in the last 10 years, have shown us that they get worn out and they want to go somewhere else. So if it's neck and neck like this between Tatum and Giannis, I could easily see Tatum getting the edge because he's the new guy on the block.
Oh, also don't even count out because you talked about them and brought up all their drama and all that stuff. If they stay if they make a top 2 seed, don't count out Kevin Durant.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they are on a tear right now. They figured out a lot of things defensively. If they had the start they had, and they ascend, there's just so much time left. I mean, again, you have to pick it on a given day. And so if we're calling it as of Christmas, I'm going Giannis. Sounds like you're going Tatum, and there's a lot of ball left to be played. There's a lot of injuries left to happen and stuff too. Unfortunately, there's trades that are going to happen to push things. There's going to be teams that have had a hot start because of this, and again because there's so much parity in the league that will choose to intentionally, rest guys more and start to get more into the Wemby Giannis sweepstakes, which is going to result in fluff wins to the standings for other teams that, again, might have, finished up a time or two beyond, whether it's Milwaukee or Boston, Milwaukee, or, Memphis and, Denver down the stretch, or Suns, whoever that looks like. There's a lot of games to be played left, as we know. So it'll be interesting to see. I think too, the league's in great shape with these five out there on, for anybody to flip through the channels on Tuesday, Thursday night, League Pass, you name it. I mean, there's just so many great players who can just go out there and take over.
Evan, there was this one thing I wanted to get your opinion on, because I have the opinion from a normal person. I don't know if you heard about the Nets.
I'm a normal person too.
The Nets, when they played the Pacers, and the Nets sat out 8 players and they were fined 25,000 for sitting out the 8 players. They did win the game too, but this was on December 10th. The reason I really do have a huge, really big problem with this, they fined the 25K for failure to comply with league policy. It's got to be injury reporting. So whatever on that. My biggest thing is, so this is in the month of December, and this is the only this could have been the only time, especially Christmas time, where a fan would have been able to buy those tickets for their kids, all that. They wanted to see Kevin play, want to see Kyrie. And since the injury report wasn't made public or whatever until the tip off, that kid, who that normal parent or parents use their hard-earned money to get seats, go there, and then they don't even play. I got an issue with that, man. I really do.
Too. I think for like a family of 4, on the lowest of low end, if you're to go see a team and then you get that bump from the road team coming in and being a big matchup, like again, that you're looking at before fees and stuff. You're looking at like $85 to $110 for a family of 4 to go to a game and sit in the nosebleed. Done a lot of ticket watching lately, everything else, and then again, like you'll get that bump when the Durants come to town and the Lucas come to town. But I've got a problem with that too, and I think I don't think this thing would go away. I really don't. I think there's a lot of talk about reducing the amount of games the players are playing. I think, they're doing it right now, giving people rest and, oh, I got a bum ankle. We're just going to rest people tonight and everything else. We're just going to like nail it in and have those situations. It hurts the fans, but show me the data, show me the proof that these things are stopping injuries, because we are still having catastrophic injuries across the board. If you want to say it's because of, hey, again, we're about the longevity of the team and our chances this year and playoffs and everything else, like show me the data that the injuries still aren't happening, because they still are. I don't think the exorbitant rest all these players are doing, that teams are doing, and the absurd case that you just described with the Nets, I don't think it's advantageous to players' health. I think a lot of it's about reducing risk when you decide to play on the field, and obviously, or play on the court, and obviously there's less when you don't play, sure, but still, I think you still got to have those conversations. Your job, Morant, like, do I need to run in there 90 miles an hour, going crazy high with athleticism, up to the top rope to fall down and, hurt my back or something else. Jared Allen had one a couple weeks ago too, where he fell down on the hip real hard. And a lot of it's, again, just being smart with, those all-in plays. I just don't see how the rest thing is helpful to fans. I don't see how it's doing anything for injuries other than just giving people time off.
Yeah, and I think with that too, it's like if you're not gonna announce it before the game and you wait till the fine's got to be bigger because 25 for an NBA team,
That's
that's
not even a
nothing.
slap on the wrist.
So if you're gonna do that, you need to really hit them where they hurt. Like I'd be willing to do a million at least.
Yeah. And too, I mean, I think too, like, just like a delay a game, situation, you get a warning of like, listen, if you pull this again this season, we're taking your second round pick from you.
I
You don't have a second round pick this year, we're taking something else from you. There's that's where it hurts them.
Yeah, no, I agree because you
You
need to
have to
make it
impact
hurt
you have to impact their draft capital or their financial capital.
because the NBA like this is becoming it's already a problem, but just especially during December, it just irks me a little bit more because I do know that would be a lot of families' Christmas presents and hard-earned
It's a Christmas
workers.
present. It's a Hanukkah present.
Yep.
You name it across the board. It's hard-earned money at the end of the year. People are squeezing together to have a holiday experience at a ball game, watching their favorite
Mm-hmm.
superstar, or watching a superstar come to town, and it deprives them of that.
Evan, are we at the point
And
where
on
I've
Brooklyn again.
no, I was going to say, are we at the point too where I've heard that it's getting so bad that like these teams need to start releasing their rest schedule? Are we at that point?
I sure hope we aren't, and I hope Adam Silver has some other plan, creative plan to address this because this is getting absurd. I mean, again, I think this is the worst part of the player empowerment piece. I think too is you've got people that it's my right to do this. It's my right to say, hey, I'm not feeling to go today, and it's not just about the player doing it. Is we're in this weird coddling phase, right, with superstars. We don't want them to be angry and leave and force
Yes.
their way out with 4 years left on a deal that, well, we had, like if you're the Nets, like our own team doctors, we did the scans and everything else, and we've been testing all week, and we've got tons of data working with them that says Kevin Durant's good to go. But Kevin Durant's doctor says he needs a night off, so we have to do it. Like, that's where we're at. Is people have their own people. Players have their own people that aren't the team's people. Like, if somebody on the Cavs tried to pull that, and you literally have one of the best hospitals in the country in the Cleveland Clinic in your back door, and somebody's own people are better than that. Don't get me wrong. There's physicians everywhere. They're really qualified, everything else. But the army of resources the Cavs have revitalized Zydrunas Ilgauskas' career with plantar fasciitis, and he became a two-time All-Star. LeBron had a lot to do with that too. But I think about where LeBron's at and the resources he had access to from 18 on and early on in his career and stuff, before he got to Miami and came back. And he had an army of resources there and a team like no other to help him, figure out this longevity game, I think, a little bit. So I'm not buying that. I think that hurts. I think that absolutely is a factor too, is that folks have their own teams and their own camps that are just at times are just yes men, and it doesn't advance discussion on what the core issue is, and again it hurts that day-to-day fan experience. The beauty of the NBA is how much parity is in the NBA. That any given night, your best this team versus this team gives their best, and you get to get that random night where Devin Booker does go off for 58. But when you rest Devin Booker, just because it's the name of rest, the fan misses out on that. We miss out on the headlines. You miss out on all the different things that make the NBA great 7 days a week, as opposed to, again, we're watching NFL right now of, the Sunday matinee, and you get your Monday, Thursday nights, and in December twice or once you get the Saturday slate. But there's a reason the NBA is the premier flagship 7 days a week. It's because the amount of parity and the amount of opportunity for people to go off. But they do shoot themselves in the foot a little bit. I don't know what that percentage looks like, but when players are resting, you don't get to see it.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. That's something that the league office, they really got to get a hold of, especially if you want to keep bringing in more fans to your games. Because also the biggest piece is like we said, going to these games, Christmas presents, especially in December, we have now in this era more ways to watch games than ever before. Like going to games, it's a choice. Like paying for those tickets, it's a choice. You can get a similar experience at your house on a 60 to 70 inch TV.
Uh-huh.
Like, so going there live, dealing with parking, dealing with not so nice fans you might be sitting next to, like that's all a choice. So for the experience to be ruined because you're not told someone's resting or they don't follow the things and they're only getting a slap on the wrist, while $25K for a team is a slap on the wrist, but you pay 6, 5, X amount of $100 for those tickets you were saving all year for your family. Like you're just gonna have people not go to the games, and then your product's gonna look bad on TV, and then you're gonna wonder why people aren't going to the games.
It makes it tough in this new age of superstars, but again, we're hopeful that the rest is not a piece. I think if there's one thing we can expect is typically the expected injuries we know about, but people really don't rest Christmas Day. So, Martin, I'm excited for what I believe are Harden and Embiid back in that first game, and Middleton back, and Time Lord back, and again, minus Curry and AD that we for sure know about. Should be a full slate.
I agree. And to everyone listening, thank you everyone for listening to the L7C podcast. Make sure you like, rate, comment, subscribe where you listen to podcasts. 2, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I hope everyone who does listen with your families have a great time with your families. And if you're not able to see your family, I hope you have a peaceful holiday season. With that being said, the L7C podcast, happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the L7C podcast. Be sure to like, rate, review, and subscribe to the channel. Follow us on all social media platforms, and we'll be talking to you guys soon. Take care.